One Nation is pushing to legalise academic freedom in universities to provide protection for educators amid ongoing debate about free speech at higher education institutions. Joining me now is One Nation leader Pauline Hanson. Great to see you, Pauline. This is a big win for One Nation. I think this is terrific legislation, and you guys have been leading the charge on it. What does it actually mean?
Peter, it's not a big win for One Nation, it's a big win for the Australian people, because freedom of speech, freedom of academia, that's what it's about. And when you have cases like Peter Ridd, that was actually, shut down because he believed in teaching based on science and fact, and the university didn't like that. You have the Marxist Left that's taken over the universities, and you're going to teach and the way that we want you to teach. Sorry, it doesn't happen that way. So I remember 20 years ago, Peter, 2 lecturers came into my office to see me. They said, Pauline, we teach at the university. We are being told how to teach. If we don't teach that way, we're out of a job. And that was happening over 20 years ago. So, you have to back the Peter Ridds of this nation, those teachers that are teaching based on fact and science, and get rid of these other lefties teaching Marxism.
I really worry about it, Pauline. I see it firsthand myself, and it's everywhere. It's endemic, and these are the leaders of tomorrow, which is incredibly unfortunate. Okay, now, this is a big story brewing in Queensland, Pauline. Today, the Palaszczuk government has come out and said that the $1 billion Olive Downs coal mine in central Queensland will create 1,000 local jobs, and the final approvals have been put in place and the construction of the mine can now start. My sources are telling me that no such approvals have been obtained, no land agreements have been struck with landowners, and of course it comes off the back of them refusing to approve the Acland mine near Oakey, which will create 600 jobs. The double standards attached to today's announcement are appalling.
I'm not aware of it, Peter, what you're saying, so it's news to me. I know that Acland mine is still before the courts and we've got to wait for a court decision. And yes, I went out to see Acland mining, out to New Hope mine, and, quite impressed with the rehabilitation of the land, creating jobs, and it was great. No problems about it whatsoever. But it's not up to the politicians, it's up to the courts to come down with the final decision to be made with it. But I'm not aware of this other, what you were talking about the Labor Party.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it,
one minute they're opposing mining. Yeah, they're opposing mining in Queensland. The Labor Party runs with the foxes, hunts with the hounds, whatever suits them, whatever time of day. Let's go with that. This is the Labor Party. They are destroying Queensland.
Well, we'll make sure tomorrow we're going to check this out, Pauline, just exactly what's going on, because if they're coming out 3 or 4 days before caretaker period in this state and announcing projects that haven't actually been given the requisite legal approvals, well, then we got a problem here, and we'll be highlighting that in coming days. Now, Pauline, these vegetation management laws are an absolute disgrace, and you've said that the Labor Party in this state are treating farmers like criminals with the draconian ways in which they're imposing these particular laws.
They are, Peter. You can take the 2050 REEF Act that they brought in, pristine waters legislation, shutting down provision of water. The farmers, the biggest thing that's facing farmers in this Queensland is the cost of electricity and lack of water, and they can't afford both, so therefore it's shutting them down. Queensland, we get most of our income through taxes, through the farming sector, agricultural sector and the resources. Guess who hates both? The Labor Party. And actually, it's the Greens, because it's a 1-2 preference deal with the Greens. So if you want to see our resources industry and the farming sector shut down, then you're voting for the Labor Party, supported by the Greens, and it will happen. I'm totally opposed to it. Farmers have done it tough in times of drought. If you go further out west, they cut down the mulga to feed the cattle. Guess what? Who shut it down? The Labor Party. You can't cut down the mulga to feed starving cattle. It's just ridiculous. The farming sector has been hit heavily by the Labor Party. And I'm not totally supportive of the LNP either. I think they need to real big kick up the backside to get them into line about, you know, giving water security to Queensland as well. The Bradfield scheme, do I trust them? Are they going to deliver it? No, they don't. That's why you need One Nation there to make sure that they are going to follow through with their promises to the Queensland people.
Now, Pauline, we've got an election here in Queensland on October 31. I know you've been out on the ground in certain parts of North Queensland in the past week or so. What are you hearing? What are people telling you? What are their concerns?
Well, the people of Queensland are really concerned about businesses shutting down. A lot of businesses can't get the workers that they want, and the owners of the businesses are working 7 days a week or 18 hours a day because people won't come to work. The JobKeeper and JobSeeker has not helped them at all. Okay, it was about keeping the economy going. I can understand what the Morrison government did at the time, but it's actually gone too far, and people saying, hey, listen, I've got a great lifestyle on JobKeeper and JobSeeker. So a lot of the businesses, especially in the rural and regional towns, they've actually had to close up business, and a lot of these businesses will never open up again. Okay, they've said, we've had enough. I just feel that we're in for a downturn in Queensland, I think Australia-wide, and I can see real problems ahead. So, as I've said constantly, if you're offered a job, take it. Go out there and find that job. We've got too many people unemployed in this country.
We need lifters, not leaners, Pauline, don't we?
Of course we do, Peter. We always have done. If you go back to the 1960s, we had 2.6% unemployment. I know we've had COVID-19, but I think it's been exaggerated by the governments to suit their own agenda. This is political pork barrelling that's going on, especially leading into Queensland state elections. Anastasia Palaszczuk, you know, we've got to stick with the one who's protected us. Have they really protected us or lied to us at the real effects of this COVID-19? So it's about, you know, getting our economy back working again, get people into jobs, get those, you know, infrastructure going, amenities. You know, it's about ensuring that we have a decent standard of life, a decent standard of living, and it's not just for us, it's for our future generations. So if you want to sit around on your backside and do absolutely nothing, think the government's going to continue to pay your way, I'm sorry, you're not leaving a future for your children.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, One Nation leader Pauline Hanson, great to see you tonight.
Thanks, Peter.